Welcome to the Personal Trainer Hustle. Personal Trainer Hustle. If you didn't know, you do now.
All right, as we get that last sip of coffee before we get it going, what's up, you guys? Welcome back to the Personal Trainer Hustle. Your host, Sam Lopez here, ready to get into a Q&A that has been long overdue for listener Levi. So hopefully you're listening. Levi, my apologies because this was sent in a little while ago and I just got to it. But let's jump into the question that was sent in. So the question was, hello, I'm from California, Nevada City, California. I'm 32. I help occasionally teach strength and conditioning at Form is Function. Health and wellness is my passion, and I'm looking for information on how to start. I was thinking of getting my exercise physiology degree, and that was sent in by Levi Strong Sheldon. So, Levi, I appreciate the question. I have a confession to make here. I actually, because you gave me some information, I looked up, where you've been training and a little bit of, info on you, I guess. Very minimal, but I was able to just get a little background. So, sometimes that's how seriously I like to take these questions. So I was like, how can I best respond to your question? Sometimes, um, there's just different ways to go. Also, I don't know you guys personally when you send in the question. So sometimes I'm like trying to guess at what the situation may be. And so here we are answering this question. Again, I'm going to, make some assumptions at times and take some guesses. So, I apologize if anything that I do or say is a little bit off target, but we're getting into your question. So your question is about just starting off as a trainer. You've already been teaching a little bit of strength and conditioning. You want to get your physiology degree. Yes. So I have a couple of notes here, a couple of things that I would have you consider as you begin. Obviously, I don't know the situation, right? So like right off the bat, part of me wants to know, like, do you have a certification already as part of your teaching for this gym? Or, is it something that you're starting to do because you have a knowledge of it, but not really a certification in it? Now, from what I noticed about the gym that you mentioned, is that they seem to be very movement oriented, right? Like using correct form, using correct techniques, which I am all about. I really liked what I saw. And so if you are part of something like that, I can already tell that you understand movements and there is an importance being put on doing things correctly, on actually caring about the client. So I just got to say that shout out to your gym that you mentioned, because what they are doing and what you must be doing as part of that gym is actually teaching like real functional movements to people. So shout out to you guys. But it makes me think that you already have some awareness of movement, and that's really important. So, do you need a degree? Right. That was the first thing that I thought about when you sent your question in, and this is a difficult question to answer, because I have known personal trainers that have degrees and personal trainers that only have certifications. And in both categories, I have noticed that it has nothing to do with the amount of success that you will have. I have seen trainers that have degrees in kinesiology, in physiology, in movement, however you want to look at it. And I've seen them not do well in a career in fitness, and I have also seen some that do really well in a career in fitness. And obviously, the other example is just as true. I've seen trainers that have certifications that do not know what they're talking about, do not go anywhere with their careers. And I have also met people that have just a regular certification in fitness and go on to do great things, sometimes open up great businesses and things like that. So um, I'm going to have to say that that is a preference that you have to decide. So my question is going to be, more than anything, how do you learn, right? How is it that you are going to retain information the best, right? And so I'll give you an example for myself, right? I am somebody who likes to study on my own a lot, right? I tend to learn at my own pace, and I have no problem picking up a textbook and just reading it and picking up what I'm supposed to pick up, right? So I don't always need the instructor to be able to capture the ideas. Now, that's not to say that when you have an instructor, it isn't better, right? Because you have someone to lean on and ask questions. But for anybody watching the YouTube feed, you guys can see I have a bookshelf back here, right? And I'm just saying that to say, like, you can see that I am someone who just takes up studying as part of my everyday life, my routine, my, way of life is just kind of studying all the time and picking up books or watching courses and things like that to always pick up knowledge. So, you will, in order to solidify and verify that you know what you're talking about, you will have to make a decision on how you want to go about acquiring your knowledge, your information, and really, more than anything, something that says that you are licensed to do this, right? So you want to either have a certification or a degree that says, hey, this is what I am doing as a profession, and you can now get jobs, you can have more certainty, you can have insurance, right? You can start moving forward because you have the credentials now in order to move forward. Which credential you want to go with, like I said, that's really up to you knowing yourself. Now, what I will say sometimes about degrees and certifications, because this is a little bit of a pain point for me when it comes to building your career, what I find, you said you were 32. So what I find is that usually a lot of people use, and I don't know if this is true, right? But this obviously this is a podcast for anybody listening. So if the shoe fits, I'm trying to warn you that what I've seen in my life over many years of being in business, being employed, being an employer, running a business, getting clients, all of the things that I've experienced. One thing that I've noticed is that sometimes people fall into um, school as a way to escape real life experiences. I see it all the time, right? Time goes by and people tend to get stuck in this, I will be successful when I get the next degree. I know a lot of people that are dead broke that have three different degrees. Okay. I've met them, I've worked with them, I've trained them. And, their lifestyle does not represent what you would imagine somebody that has put that much work into school, what it would look like, right? It doesn't always correlate because at the end of the day, work is work and school is school, right? School is a great way to get information, but eventually you have to start working. And some people, I'll put myself in the category, right? I got a certification and then I just got to work and figured out the business side of things, figured out my career and never looked back, right? I was not someone that thought, "Oh man, I'm not getting clients because I need another degree. I'm not getting a job because I don't have the right credentials," right? I figured I have all the credentials that I need. I am missing other information, other experiences, right? Other knowledge that I should already have, or maybe I just don't. I haven't paid the price yet, or I don't know how to talk to people. I don't know how to sell a package. I don't know how to brand myself, right? There were a lot of things that I had to figure out, that it's not about school. It's about doing the work. And so what I challenge you guys as you listen to this podcast today is be careful that you don't fall into being a lifelong student as a career. And I heard this from somebody else and I thought it was so perfectly well put. Some people make a career of going to school, right? But the problem with that is that you are taking on a career that requires you to pay and not get paid, right? Now, again, we convince ourselves that, like, no, just one more year, just 4 more years, and you watch. Once I get to that next level, that's when the money's going to roll in. But guess what? You should have already started working. Okay. You should have already made do with the information that you have. Right. And so again, it's just something that you guys need to think about if you find yourself in that situation. Do I think that getting a degree in fitness, getting a degree in physiology is a wonderful thing? Absolutely, 100%. And if it is within your means to do it, and you have the time to invest in it, why not? Right? But the reality is, you might be able to get just as far having a certification. That's why I said it's up to you, because you have to really think about where you're going with your career, right? Obviously, if you can have a high degree of information, and a degree that says that, hey, I am, a professional in this area. If you can couple that with real business knowledge, with building a real client base, a real career, with hard work, with dedication, with strategy, if you can couple that information, then you'll be unbeatable, because not only will you work just as hard as the other coaches, but you'll actually be more specialized, you'll be more knowledgeable, you'll be more helpful, you'll be able to actually give people better results and better help because you have more information. But the reality is that most people with a lot of information, um, don't know how to communicate it with other people. And that's just something that I've seen a lot, right? Becoming a lifelong student. So you just have to be careful. A lot of the things that you're going to have to do for your career, you're going to have to do anyway. Whether you have a great certification, no certification, a degree, no degree, right? Whatever you decide to do, there's a lot of things that you're going to have to go through anyway. And I am always just so weary of falling into that mindset. Not because the information isn't good. Being a highly educated person is an amazing thing. It gives you a lot of fulfillment in this world. So I respect it, but you have to be careful, because I've seen it way too many times. A lot of people ruin the career part, ruin their income potential, never build anything, because all they do is go to school hoping that that's enough, when really going to school just gives you more solutions to people's problems, right? So you have information, but without the other skills, it may not happen, right? Like, I'll give you an example. You may be the most knowledgeable trainer, but if you smell bad, that's it. Nobody's going to put up with smelling bad, no matter how smart you are, right? And that's just a random funny example, but take smelling bad as whatever that thing is that you don't realize that you need to do. Maybe you're not timely. Maybe you don't speak and communicate in a way that people understand you. That could ruin someone's career, right? Even if you know what to do, if you are not a good teacher, then that person doesn't benefit from all that knowledge. If you know a bunch of stuff, you have degrees in fitness, but you can't be on time, people are not going to tolerate paying for a late trainer, right? And on it can go, right? Maybe you are the most knowledgeable trainer, but nobody wants to give you a job because you are not loyal, you are not dependable, you are an adversarial person, right? I've met so many people like this. They ruin their career, not because they don't look good, not because they don't have the knowledge, not because they can't train, simply because they cannot take a simple criticism about making their training better, right? And that's another great point to make here that we have to be careful with. Usually another thing that happens with a lot of people that are highly educated in any area is that they become less open to criticism, that less open to suggestions from somebody that's trying to help them, right? So I'll give you examples from my life. I have hired people now that have high degrees of knowledge in fitness, and I've hired them thinking like, man, I need this type of person to be able to work with my type of clients, right? My gym has a lot of people that are beginners, a lot of people that are older, right? So they come to my gym because we have trainers that can actually help them. But what I have found sometimes is I realize, okay, this person is doing this, and that's good. But in my decade or plus of training, I've realized that, you have to be careful with this, because they're going to be a little too sore in their hip from that. Obviously, you know a lot, you know more than me sometimes, but I'm just giving you that piece of advice. And a lot of people cannot handle it because they think that they're the smartest person in the room. So that can happen as well when we go down the degree right now. I'm just giving you guys experiences, okay? I'm not really answering the question with this, because the real answer to your question is, it is up to you how you want to acquire the knowledge, because really only you know how far you want to take it, and only you know if you're running away from the real work by thinking that the degree is going to somehow make up for the lack of other skills or self-awareness that we have, or if you truly do want to just be the best coach possible and you have the time and the money to invest in having that degree. If that is true, then that's the best option for you. I'm just giving you guys examples of things that I see because maybe it lands with one of you guys and maybe you can reflect and think, I do kind of fall into that, right? I am one of those people that he's talking about, and I can see that my results have not been good. Well, that's a wake-up call. So, again, I'm just trying to help you guys as much as I can. And so by sharing these stories, I hope you guys can really reflect and say, you know what? No, I think I really want to do this. No, I think I want to do that. I think this is good enough. I do like to educate myself. I don't do well if I don't have a teacher. It's all up to you how you do it. But this is one more note that I made about education. No matter which way you go, regular fitness certification or degree, you will always have to keep learning because there is no, and I've said this in episodes in the past, there is no one degree, there is no one certification, there's no one video, one course, one podcast, one book. There is no one thing that's going to teach you everything that you need to know. Okay. That is part of the problem with our mentality around school, right? Part of the problem is not school itself, because school is just information. You know what they do in school? They open up a book and help you work through the book. So it's just information that you could have gathered. But the problem with our mentality around school that I have found is that we think that once we finish school, we did it and we put an end point to our education. That's the problem. It's not that you went to school or didn't go to school. The problem is that some of us stop learning. And the moment you stop learning, no matter how much education you got, somebody may come behind you and continue to learn more and more and more and more and eventually catch up to you and eventually surpass you because you thought, I'm done. Education doesn't work like that. There is no I am done. Now you could, but you're risking that you'll fall behind. You're risking that things go on, beyond what you can do. And you're also risking, that you don't have certain information that you may need, right? That is one of my paranoias. That is one of the reasons why I hope you guys will go back whenever you find this podcast, go back and listen from the beginning, because every time we sit down, there is a nugget, right, of information, whether it's a lesson that I give you, whether it's a trainer that we talk to, whether it's a question that I'm answering, whatever it is, what you guys are going to get out of the podcast is that at any moment, there might be a nugget of information that you needed to know that once you know it, it can change your life. But the problem is, if you don't listen, if you don't read, if you don't study, you may walk around for 10, 20, 30 years only to realize, oh, if I would have known that 20 years ago, that would have completely changed my career. That's why I'm like a paranoid person around information. I'm very open minded. I don't have to agree to everything, but I also am not quick to disregard or ignore because I never know where there might be a life changing lesson. Right. And I'll be damned if I learn it when I'm 70, that I something like learn something when I'm 70 that could have helped me when I was 20, 25, 30, 35. Right. So information is very important. So whatever you decide to do, just continue to be a knowledgeable trainer. And especially to Levi that sent in the question, I can already tell you're fairly knowledgeable here just from some of the information that I saw when I looked up the gym that you work at. This is a type of place that I really agree with and like what they're doing, and I like what you're doing there. So I think the information part, I think you have a great grasp um, on fitness and on movement. But again, right, I don't know. I haven't seen you train somebody who's 20 and I haven't seen you train somebody who's 80. Only you know that, but those are different people. Um, so let's move on to another thing that I picked up from the question, because again, I feel like I didn't have a lot here. So I'm just going to kind of give you a bunch of different thoughts and ideas based on things that I thought about. You mentioned a very powerful word in your question, that is a double-edged sword in your career. Okay. And the word that you mentioned that is a double-edged sword, it is just as good as it can be bad, is passion. Okay. You said, I am passionate about fitness or about health, right? I don't have the question in front of me anymore. And this is a great thing that you brought up, because even though you may not have realized it, this is a very, very um, important thing to talk about for personal trainers because this is something that we hear a lot in fitness. So bear with me, you guys. I have a lot of different thoughts around it, a lot of different ideas, a lot of different opinions around passion and fitness. I'm going to start with a little story, right? Um, or not a story, but a situation that happens to me a lot when I am interviewing trainers to come work for me. One of the things that almost every trainer, good trainers, bad trainers, beginner trainers, experienced trainers, um, you know, keep comparison, right? Tall trainers, short trainers, male trainers, female trainers. One thing that every trainer has in common is that every time I interview them, they all say this. They all say they're passionate about fitness and they all say they're passionate about helping people with their fitness. So, if all of them are passionate, why aren't all of them still hired? Why aren't all of them successful? Why aren't all of them reaping in the benefits of their career? Why didn't they all make it? Why didn't I hire all of them? Because this is something that I almost ignore it when people say it because everyone says it. And it's not to say that it's not true. It's not to say that it's not true, but it is to say that passion and love for what we do is not enough. Okay. There are a lot of starving artists out there, a lot of people that wish they were actors, a lot of people that wish they were making money off of their art, selling it down at Venice Beach. And I guarantee you that they're passionate about what they do. There's a lot of musicians that nobody's ever heard of that are very passionate about what they do. So, passion is different than sacrifice, than strategy, than grit, then paying the price, then the humility to learn from other people, the humility to put in the work that is required, the flexibility that it requires to change sometimes the way that we do things in order to be able to be more successful in our careers, right? So passion can be a double-edged sword, like I said, because sometimes passion is what keeps us in it long term. But, and this is just business advice to all of you guys, passion is usually also the downfall of a lot of people's careers and a lot of people's businesses. Why? And I just heard somebody say this recently because when you're too in love with what you do, you can no longer look at something without a bias, right? You can't just look at something from the outside and have an honest opinion about it anymore. The word is escaping me. You guys probably know exactly what I'm trying to say. But you can't look at something anymore and when you are too passionate, when you are too in love with something, right? When you're too in love with the product and the idea, you can no longer look at things for what they are. You begin to filter the way that you look at things because of the passion and the love. Again, I don't know if this is true for you exactly, but I know it's true for somebody listening because I've seen it so many times. So what happens is you cannot longer look at your career and your business honestly. This is why people fall into they've been a personal trainer for years and yet somehow they're still looking for work. They still only have a few clients. They're always starting over. They always have to have a side job to make real money before they make the training money. And we get stuck in this because we're not looking at things in an honest and sincere way, right? When you can detach yourself a little bit, yes, keep that passion, but you just as equally need to have a passion to succeed. And this is where sometimes people don't have enough passion. We have a passion for an idea, we have a passion for a product, but we don't have a passion to improve our life. We don't have a passion to be successful in what we do, or we don't define success in a correct way for ourselves. And so what happens is now you can't see that the reason why things aren't working out is because you're not working hard enough, or you can't see that the reason it's not working out is because of the way you speak to people, right? I can't see that. I can't make the adjustment because I'm so stuck in like, this is my passion. This is what I want to do. But I'm going to give you a different way to think about it because again, going back to my example of when I hire people, right? When everybody tells me that they're passionate about fitness, and more importantly, they say they're passionate about helping other people, right? They became trainers because they want to help other people. Because again, this is what every trainer tells me. This is the question that sometimes I pose back to them, and I'm going to pose back to you guys that love being a personal trainer, because we all love it, but some of us can't see things for what they are, right? If you love helping people so much, would you be willing to help them at 5 in the morning? If you love helping people so much, would you be willing to help them Saturday at 7 in the morning, Saturday at noon, Sunday? Would you be willing to show up for your clients on Sunday? Would you be willing to show up to the gym 12 hours a day to talk to people and offering them services? Would you be willing to create content for your social media specifically to help a certain individual? And would you be willing to do 100 days in a row of quality content that helps somebody? Do you really have a passion for what you're doing? Or is it just something that you say because you really enjoy working out, but you don't have a real passion for helping people, right? That's the difference, right? The difference is, do you actually want to help individuals? I'm going to give you a little example, right? Just a little bit of what passion really looks like. I looked up some of the information that you sent in: Nevada City, your gym, your name. Why? I didn't have to do that, but I want to try to deliver a message that is as close to the reality as possible, right? I could have just guessed and said, hey, whatever, I'm just going to go with it just to hear myself talk. But the episode isn't about listening to myself talk, right? I don't go back and listen to the episodes. Who cares? I don't care. It's about the message for you. So, what I'm going to ask you guys to think about is, how passionate, how much love do you actually have for the customers or the potential customers? And if you really are that good at training, I'm going to tell you something else that I have challenged trainers with that work for me, because all of these are just experiences that I've had, right? Where was I going with this? Passion for the other person, love for the other person. Maybe it'll come back to me. Um, but I challenge the trainers to think about things differently. Oh, this is what I was going to say. When somebody doesn't sign up with you, you have to really consider that they're going to go sign up with a trainer that's not as good as you. Is that okay? So even for those of you guys that aren't really thinking about, oh, I need to improve my sales, I need to improve my marketing, this person, I really need to try to get them to sign up with me. Those of you guys that are not passionate about selling your personal training are also not realizing that you are allowing this person to go train with someone who is probably of less value to them. Is that okay with you? If you really are passionate, or if, like, this is the point I wanted to make, if you really think that you're the best, if you really have the best degree, if you really have the best certification, if you really get the best results, these are the lessons that I have to challenge you guys with. If that is true, then why did you let them walk away? Why did you let them end up signing up for that boot camp that's going to hurt their back? If you're truly the best, right? So again, I'm saying that to say that all of the things that we talk about on PT Hustle, it's again, even the sales, the marketing, everything is believing that this client is going to be in the best hands they can be if they are with you. And so then you should focus on education, because you need education to be able to help them. You also need marketing, because you need people to know about you as an alternative, because you may have the answer that person has. You also need to be better at your salesmanship, because you don't want them to come try you and not really see the value and end up signing with someone else. They might end up buying with someone who's just a sleazy salesperson. But hey, at least that person sold the client. They were willing to ask for the credit card. You were not. So all of these things all come down to the same thing. It comes down to, are you passionate about fitness? Are you passionate about helping people? Do you believe that you're bringing a quality product? And if all of those things are true, then the career and the business side needs to be true in order to make that happen. And that's the part that I always try to get you guys to understand. You need to have all these other tools if the first part is correct. If it is true that you're passionate, if it's true that you have goals, if it's true that you're a good trainer, if it's true that you want to have clients, if it's true that you're going to service them, if you're going to get them results, you're going to help them movement, whatever, if all of that is true, then your marketing, your sales, your advertising, your people skills, your questions, all of that also needs to be true. They have to go hand in hand. So I've gotten a little off topic, but I just found that word, like I said, it can go either way. right? Because again, being passionate about fitness for yourself and being passionate about being a teacher are two different things. Here's another thing that I tell my personal trainers that I'm sharing with you guys. There's a lot of you. I'm really just kind of talking to you guys today like if you guys were, in my gym and working for me, because these are all things that I cover with my trainers, because these are ideas that sometimes they haven't considered. Um, and one of them, again, I'm losing my thoughts because today I don't really have a lot of notes. I mean, I have some points, but I'm just kind of going, um, off the cuff here. So I think I forgot what I was going to say about my trainers. Again, I challenge some of their thoughts about their career, their business, their salesmanship, all that stuff. Anyway, if it comes back to me, we'll get back to it. I think this is the first time I've gotten this lost this many times on the pod, but it's usually because if you guys listen to the podcast, you guys know I usually have like, I stick to 3 things we're going to talk about, 5 things, 10 things, whatever. And today is just like, you know what? I've just got a bunch of random notes here that I wanted to cover. Um, you know, as far as all of this stuff goes. But I hope you guys are, just thinking about um, your own training, your own passions, your own reasons why you do it. Oh, this is what I was going to say. See, it came back to me. Being a teacher. What I was going to say is having passion for fitness and having the passion to be a teacher are two different things. And so the thing that I always also challenge my trainers with is, are you okay being a teacher? Are you okay teaching someone how to squat for 10 years? Because if you're a trainer, every month you're going to have somebody who's at level 1 learning how to squat, or level 1 learning how to hinge. And a lot of trainers, again, we have a passion for movement, but what that means is I have a passion for deadlifts, I have a passion for power cleans, I have a passion for kettlebell swings. That's great, but your passion might not line up with what the job actually requires, right? When my 65-year-old mother comes in and works out with you, if I see you doing kettlebell swings on day 1, I'm going to go ahead and tell her to never come back. You can keep the money, because what you're doing, as much as you love it, it's not the right thing to do. You're not teaching anymore. You're just in exercise for the fun of exercise. So again, you have to really think about, am I ready to be a teacher? I mean, am I passionate enough about this that I love teaching a squat, even if I have to teach it to a new person every day, right? So I always say this, like, you're like a first grade teacher and a college teacher all in one, because your job is to take them from first grade to graduation day and everything in between, but you have to start them where they are. So the real passion in fitness is in teaching, is in developing people, is in meeting people where they are. And if you guys can have that, you're going to be better instructors. You're going to have real careers. This is another pitfall that trainers have, right? Treating everyone the same. This is one of the reasons why the podcast exists, and I've said it before. A lot of and we don't really talk about training, but I do talk about this a lot with my trainers at the gym. A lot of the degrees, a lot of the certifications, they start assuming that the person moves well. A lot of the programs online, a lot of the trainers online, a lot of the videos that I see online, all of these things, not everybody, but a lot of them are making a lot of assumptions about the person doing the program. They're assuming that they didn't have a back surgery. They're assuming that they have full mobility in their ankles. They're assuming that their joints recover. They're assuming that they have the blood flow to recover. They're assuming that that person slept a good night's sleep in order to perform at the level that they're supposed to perform. They're assuming, that this person's stress levels are not affecting their hormones. There's a lot of assumptions being made when you just look at a program, look at a certification, look at a book, look at a video. As a coach, you have to just gather this information and filter it and process it. That's the job of a coach. So, again, you guys ranting about different ideas here, but I hope something lands. I hope it just gets you thinking about what you want to do with your career, okay, and where you want to go and how you want to approach it, and really, fine tune your desires in a fitness career, in the fitness industry. Again, there's nothing wrong with just being like a bodybuilder type of trainer, but you have to know that. But at least for me, my passion lies in helping people, wherever they're at, move forward in their career, right? I'm a very like beginner centric person. Even with this podcast, I try to talk to you guys at early levels of your career. Because again, just like in my fitness, also in this podcast, I have a passion for helping the person that a lot of people ignore, right? A lot of, again, even you guys know this, when you're looking for information on fitness business and stuff like that, a lot of it starts with like, okay, so you have a business plan, right? And sometimes the questions are like, no, I don't even have a business plan yet. I need to figure something else out. So we're over here trying to start things from a little bit of a earlier place. Okay, so let's talk business. Let's talk career. Um, at the end of the day, if you're going to start being a trainer, oh, this is one of the things that I wasn't sure. You already have um, a job here from what I gathered in the question. So again, this is one of those things where I don't know where the question was going because I don't know if you mean getting started as a coach so that you can pick up more hours where you already work, or getting started as a coach like I'm going to go get another job at another gym and be more involved and have more hours and more clients, or getting started like I'm going to start my own personal training brand, personal training business. So um again, I'm just going to have to make some assumptions and some guesses here, but I hope, something is helpful, something lands. um but at the end of the day, what is the point of getting our certification or our degree, right? It's simply to have the skills to do the job. Okay. That's it. That's it. If I can summarize it there after all my ranting, all my talking, whatever it is that you do to get your certification or degree, it is simply to have the information to start. That's why I went on such a rant saying like you can't get stuck in that loop because you still haven't started yet, right? You're only gathering the information that you need to have an opportunity to start, right? How do you get a job at a gym? Well, they're going to ask and see if you have the information. How do you start a business? Well, I don't know who I'm going to train if I don't know how to train. So when you get the information, however you decide to get it, it just has to be good enough that you know how to do the job. But it doesn't mean that you've been hired yet. It doesn't mean that people want to train with you. It doesn't mean that you have clients. It doesn't mean anything other than you're capable, right? You have the potential to be something. You have the potential to start something. You have the potential to get a job, but we're not there yet. So I would say, whatever it is that you're going to do, and you know what, with situations like this, can I tell you guys something? Sometimes a coin flip is the best thing to do. A lot of the questions you guys send, I'm like, just flip a coin. It doesn't matter. The most important thing is that you make a choice. So if you're between getting a certification or going to school, just flip a coin if you really don't know. And I heard one of the best things about flipping a coin. They say flip a coin, and how you feel about where it landed tells you more than the decision that you're going to make. So, an example, right? Let's say you're like, oh, I'm going to get a regular certification, a NASM, or I'm going to sign up and go to school for this. And you flip a coin, and tails is you go to school, heads is you get the certification, right? And if it lands on tails and you're like, I wish it didn't, then that tells you what you really wanted. So you can also look at it like that, right? But just different ways to think about it. And if you're really 50-50, you flip a coin. There's also, I didn't say this, but there's also a lot of benefits to just getting a certification. Number one, it's not going to take as long. And number two, it's not going to cost as much. Number three, if you're not 100% sure that you're going to go all in on this, it's a great way to test the waters. I should have said that a long time ago, but hopefully you listen this far and you can pick that up. But you have to also consider, because I talked a lot about getting the degree, but I didn't talk a lot about getting the certification. Getting the certification has a lot of benefits that you may want to take advantage of. And again, sometimes compared to how much you're going to spend getting a degree, it might be worth your while to start there. Drop the few $100s. I think they're about $500 now. I don't know, maybe more, but compared to the amount that you're going to invest, it could give you a good entryway to see, you know what, I do like it. I got a job. I'm doing well. Let me sign up for that degree. You can do it that way too. It might be the safer bet. And what you may realize is, man, I'm really good at this. I just need to build up my business more. Maybe I don't need to go get this. It just depends with the clients that you're going to be working with, right? If you're working with older people, if you really are doing deep work with people that is beyond just exercise, the degree part might be very important. But the certification gets you in the door, and at the end of the day, that's what you want. You want to start doing the work, because you either start doing the work now, you start doing the work in 6 months, or you start doing the work in 2 years. Time is a factor too, you guys. You have to understand that time is a factor, and a lot of us don't think about time. We don't realize like time is going to pass. That's the one thing I can't control, right? I can control how much I put in time. I can control how much work, how much reading, how much studying, how many prospects, how many flyers, how many videos. I can control that. I can't control that a year is going to pass whether I like it or not, right? So take time into your equation as well. Do you have the time to do the schooling, or are you already kind of figuring it out, and with a certification you think you can pull it off? At the end of the day, the clients aren't really going to ask, and people hiring you aren't really going to care that much if you're working at a gym. It depends where you work. Some gyms might, but the general gym is not concerned whether you're certified or have a degree. And if you start a business, your clients aren't concerned. In all of the years that I've been a trainer, and all the years that I had a business, and all the clients that I've had, and all the trainers that I've had, I don't think a single client, maybe one or two people in the like 13 plus years that I've been doing this, has asked about a certification. And people ask, but they never ask to look at it. So, and I'm not saying don't get one. You should have one, because you do need the information, and you do need the credentials. But I'm saying that to say that it's us that end up caring more about that stuff than the people. You know what the people care about? Your employer or your clients, even if you have your own business, what they care about is, do you have the solution to my problem? How you got the solution, that does not concern them. They don't really care. All they care is, hey, I have shoulder impingement, and they might not even be able to verbalize it. Here's the question: can you help me? I don't know what certification or degree you may or may not have. My question is, you say you're a coach, you say you're a professional, you say you're a doctor, whatever. Can you help me? And if you can, I'm going to keep buying. And if you can't, I'm not. And even if you can't, and you say, oh, well, I have 3 degrees in this, or I have 5 certifications in the shoulder, if you can't help me, it doesn't matter to me as the customer. And at the end of the day, the only way you can have a personal training career is if you have customers that pay you for your service. If you don't have customers, you don't have a personal training career. It's just that simple, right? You have a certification, but you don't have a career. You don't have a business. You don't have a job. I mean, you may have a job on paper, but you're not actually showing up to train people. So you still have to figure that out. So just things to think about. But at the end of the day, this is what I was trying to get at, and I need to wrap it up here. But um, at the end of the day, it's about acquiring the information that you need and the skills that you need to actually do the work and to get your foot in the door. So, what are those things that you're going to have to do once you have a certification? Number one, you're going to have to decide where you want to work and how you want to go about your first step in your career. You can get a job at a gym that provides you clients and classes. You can get a job at a gym where you have to build up your client base, or you can start your own personal training brand and build your own client base. Regardless of what that is, you're going to have to build your career. No personal trainer walks into a full schedule, right? Most gyms hire you part time because they only have 1 class a week available for you, 2 classes, right? It's very rare that you can train 8 hours in a row. It's very rare. So usually training schedules are kind of spotty. Your job is to make it less spotty. So, what are you really going to need to do? You're going to need it to get a job, or you're going to need to get clients. And even if you get a job, you're going to have to get clients in that job. So, what do you actually need to concern yourself with is get the information out of the way so you can start building your client base. So, what you need to concern yourself with is actually learning something else, right? So, I actually wrote like a little formula here. You're going to get education first. Whatever you decide to do, that's your decision. We talked enough about that. Then you need to get a job. Once you have a job, you're going to learn a lot of skills on the job. You may already be doing that based on what you've been doing with the gym that you do classes in. Then you're going to have to begin to build your brand. Again, this can happen within the gym, or it can happen outside of the gym, or it can happen both. But what you're going to have to start doing is building relationships with people. It is inevitable. Everyone has to do it. My first step, I got hired at Bally Total Fitness. And even though I was a fairly knowledgeable trainer, I did know more than a lot of the trainers at the gym, I found out, but they all had more clients because they'd been there longer and because they knew how to talk to people. They knew how to sell the packages. They knew their pricing. They felt confident. I didn't have confidence. I didn't. So you're going to have to go through that phase. You have to begin to build a brand for yourself. You have to begin offering your service to as many people as possible. Now this is where the work happens, and this is where you may decide you're not as passionate as you thought. This is a lot of trainers break in this point. When it comes time to build your client base, this is where most trainers realize they love training, but they don't love it that much. Okay. Because it requires, if you work at a gym, you're going to have to start talking to like 10 people a day at least. Just say hi, help them with their equipment, offer them a training services. And now it sounds easy, but it's hard once people ignore you, once people say no thank you, once people say I don't want to hear about it, once people say you're the third trainer to approach me today. It starts to get uncomfortable when people are like, "Oh no, thanks. I know what you're trying to do. I know what you're trying to do." That's what I had to go through. I would go talk to somebody and say be like, "Oh my gosh, you must be new here." "Oh yeah, why? Ah, this is the third time somebody offers me the free training thing. That's what you're going to offer me, right?" And they would say shit like that straight to my face. They'd be like, "Oh, you're offering me the free training again, right?" And I would say, kind of, yeah. And I'd be like, you're the third trainer. I keep telling him to take me off your computer, take me off the system. I keep telling him to stop calling me. That's the type of shit you have to confront sometimes if you want to build your client base, if you want to have a job. It's not always that bad, but sometimes just one of those completely breaks your spirit. Or if you're building a brand, you're going to have to start making videos. You're going to have to start getting followers. How do you do that? And not only that, do you have followers that you're actually influencing, right? Because we use this term influencer, but are you actually influencing anyone to sign up for training with you, right? Most people have followers, but they're not really following you to do anything. They just find some inspiration in your posts, right? A lot of fitness people fall into that. A lot of fitness people fall into making Instagrams for other trainers and not for their clients. This happens all the time, right? So, man, it's just a lot to cover. I almost feel like I need to do a whole nother episode just on like how you take these first steps, but hopefully I've done other ones. But at the end of the day, you're going to have to start making connections. You're going to have to start figuring out the business side of training. And this is what's funny about training and about education, because that's what we're talking about, right? People will spend more money on getting the career, on getting the degree, but they won't spend the $20 to buy a couple of sales books. They won't spend another $20 to buy a couple of, marketing books. They'll listen to music for 3 hours a day, but won't take 30 minutes to listen to an audiobook, right? Because again, we are so convinced that our success comes from the information to be able to do the job, but we never get to the point where we respect the building of the career part just as much, right? So there is no degree on grit. There is no degree on stamina. There is no degree on tenacity. There's no degree on discipline, right? So, yeah, sure, all the trainers have information, but the difference is some trainers listen to an audiobook every day about marketing, some trainers don't. Some trainers spend $20 on sales books every month, some trainers don't. But if you told every trainer, "Hey, your certification is another $600," they say, "Oh, I'll pay $600 to learn more about squats." But if I say, "Hey, it's going to be $60 to pick up these 3 books on sales," I mean, I don't really have time and, it's kind of a lot. I mean, is there, and we come up with excuses. We will not pay $60 for a sales book. We will not give up 30 minutes of our day on an audiobook, but we'll sign up for a 5th certification. We'll sign up for 2 years of a degree, but we won't get the information that we need because you also need that. You need both. Don't get me wrong, you guys. You need to get the information or else you don't have a product, but you need to re-educate yourself once you have it on setting goals, on salesmanship, on prospecting, on marketing, on brand building. If you do that part, the product has already been taken care of with the certification or the degree, but you still need to figure out how to get that product out into the world. And it's not as easy as you think. One of the inspirations for this podcast is my very first experience at the gym. Some of you guys may already know this. When I got hired, I had just gotten certified and I was excited. I was so excited to start training. And it took me a while to get a job as a trainer. Most of these gyms were not calling me back, and the ones that did were not giving me a job. I was super green, super young, no confidence. And finally, somebody gave me an opportunity, and I was so happy. I imagined myself training these people, I imagined myself putting them on programs, I imagined myself doing all these amazing things. But you know what my job really was? When I got hired, they said, "All right, you have no clients." I was like, "Where are the clients?" Right? I'm excited. Where are they? They said, "Oh, well, no, you don't have any clients. You have to get clients." And my mind was blown. In all of the months that I had given to getting my certification, all the months I had invested, it never fucking crossed my mind that the clients had to buy the training with me first. Never crossed my mind. Never crossed my mind that it's kind of expensive for most people. I just assumed they were buying it. Never crossed my mind that I had to start with 0 clients and build it from there slowly. Never fucking crossed my mind. What crossed my mind was how I was going to do back squats and then low bar squats. And then once we did that for 6 weeks, I was going to avoid the plateau by increasing the rep ranges and decreasing the rest time. I was so absorbed with the fitness that it never crossed my mind that I had to develop these new skills. And it made me want to quit training. And that's why I started there on today's episode, right? Do you have the passion to keep going? Do you really want to do this? Because most trainers break when they realize, oh, I have to actually do more work, right? I actually have to build a business for myself. Yeah, no, that just does not sound fun, but that is the price to pay if you have a passion for fitness. You have to stay on it. You have to continue to focus on the business part of your training as well. And when I say business, you guys, it's either being a great employee, keeping your clients happy, keeping them getting results. You can even go as far if you really want to be a great employee. Why don't you come up with a referral system for the clients that you get? So let's say your gym gives you a client. Your job should be to be so good at business, so good at service, to figure out a plan to turn that one client into 2 clients. Because if you can do that for your company, you have just opened up a lot of doors for yourself. And if you can repeat it with the new person that comes in, boom, you are on your way. Not only do you have enough clients, but you have learned how to duplicate your income from the opportunity that you got. If you get a job at a gym where you have to work the floor, then that's what you have to do. You're going to learn the people skills, the marketing skills, the advertising skills, the sales skills, the interpersonal skills, right? You're going to have to develop those. But when you do, you've made it because now you can go out there into the world and get a client. You can go out there into the world and convince somebody of the value that your product can bring to their life. Now you know how to make videos, right? So once you learn how to talk to people, then you make more powerful videos. But unfortunately, a lot of you guys again are hiding. So we hide behind the camera making videos, which is fine, but you still have to develop the skills to know what questions to ask the person and to be engaging with that individual watching it. So just you posting a photo of you doing push-ups or whatever, sure it gets the clicks, but it doesn't get conversions. So you haven't learned business yet, right? You've learned to get clicks. A lot of people learn to get clicks, but can you have a message and a product that people want enough that they want to reach out to you because they want to be a part of it? Some people do figure it out. I admire them a lot. I'm always trying to learn from them. I'm like, man, you're really getting people to want to be part of your club. That's amazing. But that's a skill you have to learn. No certification or degree teaches you that part. How to make a great video, how to connect with people, how to get somebody to click and buy your services online. That's a whole nother skill. Approaching people in the gym is a whole nother skill. Sitting across the table or next to somebody and saying, hey, I think you should sign up for 6 months of training. This is the price. This is what I want you to sign up on. And for somebody to give you a credit card, that's a separate skill. So all I'm saying is, sure, starting and getting the certification is part of the equation, but in the long term, it's a very small part of the equation. Right. So that's why you just need to decide what you want to do. Maybe you already did, because I took a while to get to your question. Maybe you already did. Just live with it. Don't worry about it. If you get a certification, don't worry about it. Don't let people stress you out. Don't, be, oh, I could have gotten more education. Don't worry about that. Just start. And if you go down the physiology degree, then just commit to it, finish it, do the best you can. The most important thing when you guys are going to get your certifications or your degrees is to actually learn the information. I can't tell you how many times I have run into people that show me their certification or show me their degree. I'm like, okay, this is great. And then we go onto the floor in the gym and I say, okay, let's say I don't know how to squat. Where do you go from there? Deer in the headlights. And I'm like, okay, well, you got the degree, but you don't know, right? So at the end of the day, when you guys go and you get your certifications, your degrees, you take your workshops, you read your books, whatever it is that you do, it doesn't matter how you do it as much, to me at least, but maybe I just have a biased look at it because I've self-taught a lot of things. But to me, it's about the information. If you get a degree, that's great, but know what you're talking about. And if you get a certification, that's great. And if you get a certification, but most of your knowledge comes from taking courses, that's great too. Sure, when you take an online course, you might not get a degree for it, you might not get a certification for it, but the most important thing is that you acquire knowledge that you're going to use with your clients, because the more problems you can fix with those clients, the more they're going to tell other people that you have the solution, and people are going to come to you, right? So it's about having the solutions more than it is whatever path you take. If you have the solutions, you have the solutions. And if you have the personality to do it, you have the personality. And if you have the grit to outwork all of the other trainers in your neighborhood or in your gym, then you're the hardest worker. If you're earlier than them, hey, they could have done it, but they didn't. So you just have to stack all of this information. But the most important thing to take away from today is make a decision, commit to it, no, but understand that that's just step one. There are so many other things that we need to get to, and the quicker you can get to that, the better, right? You already have your foot in the door in one place. That's awesome. Why not maybe try to get two classes, maybe get a one-on-one session there, right? Start building where you're at. You already have an opportunity. You might be able to start getting clients even as you're going to school, right? But you have to want to do that. And I'll say this to kind of wrap it up. There's so many things to cover, you guys, today. Like I said, I just have a couple of notes, so I apologize, but everything was just very broad. More than anything, it was just my thoughts. Um, But I'll say this because this is another very important part of the equation here. Be successful at something. I just said this in an episode or two ago, but this is so important, so critical. If you have the opportunity to keep working at the gym that you're already working at, the best approach would be to go as far as you can with the opportunity that you have. And I'll tell you why. Because the lessons that you need to learn are lessons in growth and in success. And so, whatever you learn in becoming a successful trainer for that company are the lessons that you're going to need to be successful at a different company or to be successful by yourself. And I can't tell you how many times people are trying to create some type of career success for themselves, but they've never been able to do it in any other area. So they were like a half-assed barista, they were a half-assed mechanic, and now you're going to be a half-assed trainer because that's your nature, right? You don't see things through. But if you can see something through, as small or as big as it is, right? Like for a lot of people, they don't like working at a gym because they think, oh, all this time I'm going to invest in working for a gym. I should just invest it in myself. But the reality is, if you can master being a great trainer for a gym, now you have the knowledge and the skills and the experiences that are actually going to allow you to build your own brand and actually be successful. But if you're not willing to do it at a gym, it's really likely that you're not going to know what to do or you're not going to be willing to do it when you're on your own, right? So that's just kind of like a life lesson that I think that everyone should consider. Because once you learn the way in one thing, and I mentioned this from a book, and I think Rogan talks about it a lot. He has a tattoo about this, but it's I think Book of Five Rings, but it's a very great philosophy. It's a very great point to understand for all of us, and that is that once you find the way in one thing, you find the way in all things. So what that means is if you can figure out how to be successful in a company, then you'll have the tools required to do your own thing. But if you can't be successful in a company, then you probably don't have the skills to be successful on your own because the information is going to have to be the same. The lessons that you learn are going to have to be the same. So if you skip them here, you're just lacking over there. It doesn't even matter. But if you can master it here, then you'll be able to master it there, right? And for a lot of you guys, you should lean into your fitness. If you have been able to dedicate to yourself, to your body, to your health, to your fitness, to your muscles, if you've been able to develop that, because I know not all of us are different levels even in that, but if you've been able to develop your personal fitness, then you need to lean into that and correlate what got you there into your career. Where did you start? How many workouts do you allow yourself to miss? How many meals do you allow yourself to cheat on? How many days have you gone without seeing any changes and yet you didn't give up? And then by not giving up even when there was no result, you realize, okay, after a commute, once I had a year of this, even though I saw nothing for 6 months, a year later I saw it all come together. Okay, so if you know that about fitness, your personal training career is no different. You're going to prospect for months without seeing a result. You're going to read sales books without seeing a difference. You're going to listen to audiobooks about marketing without seeing a difference. You're going to keep showing up to your job, trying to tweak your exercises, your programs, your sailing skill without seeing a difference. But if you keep going, a year later, you're going to go, oh, wow, okay, yeah, I see how it all came together because it's no different, right? But it takes discipline, it takes consistency, it takes information, it takes trial and error, it takes mistakes, all the same things that it took for you to figure out how your body works the best. It took failures and setbacks sometimes. All of those things are true when it comes to your career, right? I just said this an episode or two ago. Reading books doesn't make your muscles get bigger, does it? So reading books doesn't make your clientele grow. Having a certification on fitness does not make you leaner. Having a certification in fitness does not make you a more successful trainer. It is the work that you're going to have to do day in and day out until you figure it out. So at the end of the day, get your certification, get your degree, get started. That's the most important thing, and make the best use of what you already have. Be successful in one area and then take all of those lessons and be successful in another area. And every time you do it, you're going to learn more about how things really work. Things that a podcast, a book can't teach you, right? These are life things that you're going to figure out. And when you do, you'll be able to create businesses for yourself, or a business or clientels or brands or followings, whatever you want to do. You'll know how to do it because you've figured out how things work, right? But until you pay the price in one area, you're going to keep wondering how that happens. So I don't know if I answered a question here. But yeah, just flip a coin, make a decision. At the end of the day, it's where you want to go with your certification or degree. And if you just want to be a personal trainer, a certification is probably good enough to start. If you want to work with rehabilitation or a very complex thing, then you probably do need to go down the the degree route. So, but just know neither one is going to make or break you. It's what you do after that's going to make it for you. All right. So, thank you for sending in the question. I apologize for the delay. Like I said, if anybody wants to send in a question, I don't know if you guys are going to be inspired to send questions after today's episode. But usually I like to have more steps, but today's question was very broad. And so I just kind of, you know, just said, hey, let's just think about it out loud with you guys and see what we come up with. So if you guys want to send in your question, Personal Trainer Hustle is linked in the episode description. So you guys can just hit that link and it's going to take you to the homepage of the website where you can just drop your question in. We'll turn it into an episode. One last point. I actually wrote this down and I forgot to mention it, but I think that episode 15 and episode 72 are great resources to go and check into for today's question. So, episode 15, I have it here. Episode 15 is called What a Personal Training Certification Can Do for You. So, I actually did an episode just about the importance of certification. And then episode 72 is the three most important concepts I learned from my personal training certification. So I've actually done two different episodes on personal training certification. So if you guys want to go and kind of listen to something a little bit more specific on just the certifications, the benefits of certifications, the things that I've learned from certifications, episode 15 and episode 72 is where you're going to find them. Now, those are only audio format. So you would have to go and listen on a podcast app to listen to those episodes. They won't be on YouTube. YouTube started pretty much from episode 100 on, is something that I decided to add. But to find these episodes, you have to go on a podcast platform, episode 15 and episode 72. I actually think those episodes are going to be better at answering this question than this episode. So go check those out. Um, because yeah, today's answer was a little broad, but I hope from today's episode what you guys get is just listening to an experienced trainer. That's really all I was trying to do. I was like, man, I just have all of these years. These are just all of these things that I've noticed. So it's not to say that they apply to you guys, all of you guys. It's not to say that they apply to the person that asked the question, right? I want you guys to know I was really just trying to throw the information out there. So I don't want anyone to feel like, oh, he said do this or don't do this or this is a bad idea. It's just, hey, these are all of the things that I've had to live through years. And it's just what I've noticed in building my own personal training career, my own business. These are just the realities. And I hope you guys can appreciate that, because like that's what this program is all about, man. I'm just talking to you guys real talk. I'm not trying to sound any different than I am. And I'm not trying to give you a bunch of bullshit to just go buy a program or to do this or that. Um, this is just what I've experienced. Now, different people have different experiences, but this is just my life. These are the results that I've gotten. This is my life. I was a trainer who didn't know how to sell. Then I became one that did know how to sell. Then I started a business, learned lessons, build a business, and now, we have a personal training studio. I have trainers that are there right now doing training sessions as I am doing this episode. They are there. And that didn't happen overnight, and that didn't happen without mistakes, without lessons, without meeting people, without seeing people do things right, without seeing people do things wrong. That's where all of this is coming from. So um, until the next episode, you guys can go and send in your question. If you guys want to use, I created these personal training uniforms. And they're really just for you guys to look more professional, but also you can use it as a marketing tool. I've been saying that at the end of these episodes lately, but if you guys go to personaltrainerhustle.com to the shop, and I'll also add that to the episode below, right? Information below. You guys can click on that, and you're welcome to grab one. It's going to help you look more professional, like I said. But the point is, it can help you prospect better. It can help you if you guys are out in the store, or you guys are at the park, or you're working out at the gym. It allows for a conversation to take place, right? Somebody might ask you a question about fitness because they see, oh, you're a coach. What do I do about this? How long have you been a coach, right? So it opens the door for conversation. So it's something you guys can consider picking up for yourself. You don't have to, but just figured it's going to help you represent yourself when you're out in the world, just running errands or working out or whatever. So that is it. That's all there is for today, and I will talk to you guys soon.